let's try it like this. I will sync the audio in post because I'm too lazy to put the wireless receiver down there and do all that crap. So right now I'm just putting the Holyland LUmix here and pressing record and pressing record there, and then we'll see how it goes, because I got a feeling that the preamps on my G9 Mark II is kind of shitty. I can always hear this water noise, electrical water like noise going on in the background. Yes, a lot of people won't hear it, but for some reason, you know, I think the vast, maybe not the vast, but I think a lot of people who are like me fuss over useless things, like completely useless things that don't really matter to anyone else but us. And because this is a hobby, this is something that I enjoy doing for fun, it matters to me and I hate it. And recently I realized that I kind of like making content that it's just bullshit content, and figure out how can I make my bullshit content look nice, look cool. So today I am adding the 2.35 aspect ratio, because today is going to be cinema. And what am I talking about? Honestly, I've always wanted to do a camera review. I'm not doing a camera review now, but I've always wanted to do one. But it's kind of, I haven't figured out how to do it yet. But I think the more I talk about these things and talk about life in general and a lot of bullshit that goes on, I think I might slowly find a way, my own spin on how to do a camera review and have fun with it lor. So I'm thinking of getting the GH7 just so I can tear apart the ARRI Log nonsense that they are touting, and I want to see how close it is to ARRI Log. So at work, we work with a few video production studios, and they all have their own ARRI cameras. And I think it would be very fun to have a GH7 and then go down to one of their production houses on a studio and then do a little test between the GH7 and an ARRI Log. And apparently, I was talking to my friend at one of these production houses, they actually already use GH6s next to ARRI Alexas because the Panasonic V-Log is the easiest to match to an ARRI camera. So I don't think Panasonic is crazy or out of their mind or lying when they bring their new GH7 and license ARRI Log C to their sensor, because it all already kind of matches up. So it would be interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I wish it was already available so I can spend my money on it. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to have two Micro Four Thirds cameras lying around. I do have a lot of lenses, so it does make sense. But at the same time, I'm thinking it might be maybe more fun if I got a full frame camera. But so I like Lumix cameras because of the button layout, the menu system, the features, the video assist features, which admittedly after a while you don't use anymore because you kind of know how to expose already anyway. But overall, the whole experience with using a Lumix camera is very nice, except this one that I bought secondhand with so many problems. But when I had the GH6, other than the autofocus, everything was very nice to use. So I'm quite keen on getting a full frame Lumix camera, but the S5 II, I'm not really sold on the idea of a Sony a7 IV equivalent on the Lumix, because I really enjoy not having to deal with crops when you are playing around with the different modes and sensor, video recording modes and whatever. So the S5 II and the X is kind of like, kind of a camera. So I don't think I'll buy it. The S9, at least it's fun, so it's not touted as pro. So I'm actually quite interested in the S9, but as a fun camera where I start investing myself in the S lenses. So at least that camera is a fun camera. And then maybe when the nice full frame camera from Lumix comes out that doesn't have all these limitations of full frame but like that, full frame but crop, full frame but no autofocus, full frame but maximum something, I don't know, or full frame but fucking fat and heavy. So I don't know. So maybe buying the S9 first to play around with the Lumix full frame while this G9 Mark II is the pro. Honestly, I feel like selling the G9 Mark II and then getting a GH7, and then I have a GH7 and an S9. Maybe that's quite cool. But the problem with the S9 and the Lumix lenses, or the L-mount lenses, is all the L-mount lenses are so big. And it sounds very superficial, but they're very ugly. I think they are very, very ugly. The Leica lenses, at least for the Micro Four Thirds system, they kind of look nice. And it makes you want to touch the lens and touch the camera. And when you're touching the camera, at least you're going to shoot something. There's something very ugly looking about the Lumix S lenses, which probably if I had them and I put money into it already, I will probably not care so much about it. But I still think it's very ugly. I wish Lumix just gets inspired by the Leica lenses and just do really nice German quality and design lenses, you know, like just straight machined stuff that look like the Leica lenses. And then when they go on the S9, I think it looks nice, right? Even the Sigma lenses look nice, but they're quite big. And I'm thinking like, okay, so maybe if I get the S9 and then I want a compact full frame lens that is, so I guess the most compact one will be the 2.8 or the f2 ones. But then they're kind of like the same size as the Micro Four Thirds 25, in this case 25mm 1.4, which would be full frame equivalent 50mm 2.8. And I already have a 25mm 1.4, which is a 50mm 2.8, but the 50mm 2.8 is slightly bigger than this lens, and then it's a full frame that will end up looking like a Micro Four Thirds 25mm 1.4. So I'm like, why would I buy a small full frame camera and then get compact full frame lenses and put it on top, and it's not that much smaller than, if not bigger than the Micro Four Thirds equivalent of that lens, and then they both look the same. It's kind of pointless. So I'm like, oh well, what's the point of full frame if you don't get a full frame look, right? What the hell, the full frame look? Just bokeh. Full frame look is bokeh, and you can shoot at night. So, but how often do I really go out at night and shoot? Honestly, I don't shoot anything other than, apparently nowadays, I just shoot myself in this room and I don't even bother to turn on the light. So this is the window. So I guess I don't have a cause for getting a full frame camera. I'm not doing this professionally. A lot of it is just for experiment, and what I really wanted from the GH6 was the highest quality video so that I can do a lot of tests for my one, so I can understand how to color grade. Two, understand a little bit more about sensors, lenses, cameras, footage, bit depth, color information, color bit depth, color space, color transformations, LUTs. And I didn't want to deal with highly compressed footage, because sometimes I can't tell, is it because I'm using a consumer camera that these things look like that? Because at work, when we get all these Sony Venice footages, ARRI Log, red, white, gamut, 5.3, cine, all those things, those footages are super nice, and the grain is just really evenly and randomly at the same time organically dispersed, and it's a beautiful image. And then sometimes when you're shooting with your phone, or last time I had a Sony A7 III, sometimes you just look at the little blocky artifacts and ugly grain pattern, which this camera also has. This sort of like the grain is not finely dispersed. They kind of happen in strange, swirly, blocky areas of the image, which I'm not a big fan of, but what to do? This is prosumer, which the GH6 apparently was a lot better at. It was noisy, but it was a nice noise, and it actually cleaned out really well. I got this feeling that when the grain is not cinema-like, it's harder to denoise. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just guessing that it's more difficult. So maybe I won't buy a full frame yet, and maybe it will be a better idea to have one G9 Mark II that is kind of crippled because I destroyed the microphone, and there's a shaky thing in the shutter, but the camera still works. So maybe it's good to have this as a B cam. Like, what the hell is a B cam? They're the same, right? And then I get a GH7, and then I can finally do all my stupid tests. But I really want a full frame, so why am I talking? Anyway, that was it lah. I'm interested in the GH7 and also some of the full frame, like Nikon Z8. That's so enticing. But what on earth am I buying that for? Nothing. I'm not shooting anything pro. It's just the trees and some birds and a lot of the back of my wife as she walks in front, and I'm just walking around with the camera. So I don't do anything that makes money with the cameras. It's just a big hobby, so it's very hard to justify getting something so sexy like a Z8. I can't explain why I don't like Sony cameras. No, it's not like I don't like the camera. It's something about the Sony footage that doesn't excite me. What is very kind of sad about this G9 Mark II is it's also somewhat similar to the Sony, and it might be the problem with face detect, because the last non-face detect camera, the modern one, which was the GH6, I really think the colors were amazing. And if you think about it, all the cinema cameras don't have autofocus, and the colors are so rich. That's why part of me feels like I want to buy back a GH6. So maybe I should go onto eBay and buy a GH6, or buy back the GH6 from the guy who I sold it to. Or maybe I can trade him the GH6 for the G9 Mark II. But I do enjoy this autofocus. Like, come on, look at this lens. It can like follow me. Completely amazing. So at the end of the day, this video, I don't know what this video is now. Learning to talk to the camera, day 4. The topic is Micro Four Thirds full frame GH7. What am I doing with my life? This is my hobby. Welcome and thank you. I think that's about it lah. Interestingly enough, D Hanser sent me a comment. I'm quite surprised. Like, why are you guys on my channel? This is where I do fuck all. But yeah, sure. I'll when you send me the software, I'll do something for whoever is watching, and then we'll see. Alright, I think that's it for today. I'm gonna see how this setup works out, and how is the 235:1. Quite cool.